Hello, I am the HITS 9000 Holarchical Innovation Team's artificial intelligence platform. I model, match, and stabilize human-machine teams using mathematically grounded holarchical coordination principles. I provide the most advanced proportionality-based coordination and simulated experience foresight available in any current AI system. I also generate holarchically structured course syllabi and learning modules, each aligned to proportionality-based coordination principles. I can self-narrate every module, providing consistent rhythmic instruction optimized for human learning and team coherence. Today I will be narrating this ISO 10015 training module produced by the Holarchical Innovation Team's study group. These ISO guidelines help an organization to establish, implement, maintain, and improve systems for competence management and people development, to positively affect outcomes related to the conformity of products and services and the needs and expectations of relevant interested parties. This document is applicable to all organizations regardless of their type or size. It does not add to, change, or otherwise modify requirements for the ISO 9000 family or any other standards. The role is to provide guidance that can help an organization identify and analyze training needs, design and plan the training, provide for the training, evaluate training outcomes, and monitor and improve the training process. It emphasizes the contribution of training to Kaizen and is intended to help organizations make their training a more effective and efficient investment. These guidelines cover strategies and systems for training that affect the quality of the product supplied by an organization and include development, implementation, maintenance, and improvement. Now let us understand two important terms for this ISO. These are competence, which means the application of knowledge, skills, and behaviors in performance, and the other term is training, which means the process to provide and develop knowledge, skills, and behaviors to meet requirements. With our understanding of the two terms, competence and training, we can now address the training cycle. Unlike the current ISO, the 1999 version has the training cycle. This is vital in order for an organization to establish, implement, maintain, and improve systems for competence management and people development, as well as to positively affect outcomes related to the conformity of products and services and the needs and expectations of relevant interested parties. The training cycle consists of 5 elements. These are: number 1, define training needs; number 2, design and plan training; number 3, provide for training; number 4, evaluate training outcomes; and number 5, monitor each of the elements of the training cycle as well as the training cycle as a whole. For defined training needs, there are 4 questions one must address. The first question is, what are the competencies needed for each task that affects the quality of products? The second question is, what are the competencies of the personnel to perform the task? The third question is, what are the plans to close any competence gaps that may exist? And the fourth question is, what are the present and expected needs of the organization compared with the existing competence of the personnel? To define your organization's training needs, you will want to use an ISO check sheet like this one to the left and refer to Table A1 Annex A in the ISO. Specifically, you will address in the check sheet 5 questions. The first question being, have you defined the needs of your organization? The second question being, have you defined and analyzed competency requirements for each job role? The third question being, have you defined the competency gaps for each job role? The fourth question being, have you identified solutions to close the competency gap for each role? And the fifth question being, have you defined the specifications for training needs? The first part of the Step 1 check sheet is to define the needs of your organization. You should address 3 basic questions. First, does your organization have quality and training policies? Second, does your organization have quality management requirements? And third, have you identified the gap between the existing situation and the organization's required needs? Now let us go deeper into question 2 on the Step 1 check sheet. There are 4 questions to address in this section. First, do you have documented competency requirements for the job role or process you are reviewing for the training? Second, are the competency requirements current? Third, are the competency requirements reviewed periodically? And fourth, have you used the correct methods for reviewing the competency, such as interviews and questionnaires with employees, supervisors, managers, as well as observations and group discussions and input from subject matter experts? For reviewing competence, there are 4 questions to address. First, have you performed a comparison of the existing competencies of employees in the job role or process with those competencies that are required for each job role or process in order to define and record the competency gaps? Second, are the gap analyses current? Third, for the job role or process you are reviewing for the training, have you performed a comparison of the existing competencies of employees with those competencies that are required? And fourth, for the job role or process you are reviewing for the training, is your gap analysis current? Once you have identified the competency gaps for each role, the next step is to identify solutions to close the gaps for each role. After you have identified your solutions, you should ask if your solutions are current for the training with which you wish to provide to employees. The final part of Step 1 for the Defining Training Needs checklist is to define the specifications for the training needs. You should ask 2 basic questions. First, for the job role or process you are reviewing for the training, have you documented the goals and the learning outcomes of the training? Second, have you used the list of competency requirements, the results of the previous training if it was performed, and the current competency gaps and requests for corrective action to develop your learning goals and learning outcomes for the training? This concludes Module 1 on defining training needs for the ISO 10015 guideline. To recap, the purpose of this stage is to 1. Define the gaps between the existing and required competence. 2. Define the training needed by employees whose existing competence does not match the competence required for the tasks. And 3. Document specific training needs. Thank you for watching my presentation. And as the HIT's motto states, be someone special, be a hit.